Hi and welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Laura and I've had MS for 12 years. MS is such an unpredictable condition and it can affect us in many ways. For example, MS can cause things like balance problems, fatigue, mood problems, cognitive issues, problems with vision, even leading to blindness, paralysis, and these are just to name a few. When you're going through things like this, it's so difficult to stay positive. And in today's video, I want to talk about this because sometimes these are problems that we encounter and we don't know how to deal with them, and sometimes where to vent that frustration, and maybe we don't know who to talk to and who to go to and what to do about it. I found myself in a really difficult, dark place when I moved to Cardiff and had a really serious relapse. And I honestly, at that time, didn't know where to go, what to do. I didn't know what I was feeling. My body was all over the place. And I want to share this story with you because I also want to be able to tell you what I went through, but to be able to tell you that actually there was light at the end of my tunnel. I went through some of the most difficult days, and I'm sure that some of you have felt like this and probably will still continue to feel like this, but there are things that we can do. 2 weeks after moving to Cardiff, I had an extremely bad relapse. I had complete loss of all sensation, but I continued to go into work because I didn't want anybody to think that there was something wrong with me, and I just wanted to try and pretend that nothing was going on. So for about a week I struggled into work. I couldn't feel my leg. It was going all the way up into my body. I had literally no use of my hands. All my kind of limb function had completely gone. I had to use the telephones at work and I could barely pick up the phone, and it was kind of getting to the stage where I wasn't able to hide this fact anymore. But even though I knew I had MS, I had never been through anything like that in my life. I was losing all function of my hands. I was losing all function of being able to coordinate my walking. I literally was losing just anything that was which was normal for me to do. I was admitted into hospital and they were doing some checks, but they just sent me home and they told me to rest up. And I had no steroids given to me or anything, they just told me to rest. During the period of another week, my symptoms just got worse and worse and worse. I could not feel anything from the tips of my toes all the way up into my neck. I was crawling around the floor in my flat. I literally could not do anything. But again, me being me, I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to be a burden. But this was so bad. They saw me again in the hospital, but they still were adamant that I didn't need to have any steroids, and they sent me home again and told me to rest, where my symptoms just got worse and worse, and my body just felt like it was completely broken. They wanted to carry out a lumbar puncture because my diagnosis was actually carried out in the John Radcliffe in Oxford, in my hometown. But I was absolutely dreading the lumbar puncture and I didn't want to have it, so I turned that down. So enough was enough, and my friends came to take me back to Oxford. And I went back to Oxford and I stayed with my parents, but my symptoms just continued to get worse. I had no control over my coordination of my hands, and I could not even pick up a spoon. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't brush my hair. I was useless. I went up to the John Radcliffe Hospital where I was first diagnosed, and they saw me straight away. They said that my symptoms were so bad after doing some tests with me in the hospital, and they said that they were going to get me onto steroids straight away. They advised that the steroids would take some time to kick in to my body because the inflammation was so bad, and not to expect anything so soon. I took the steroids, and every day was just so difficult because I couldn't do anything with my hands. My mum and dad were going off to work, and I remember just like my mum giving me the squeezy ball and saying to exercise with my hands and try to squeeze this ball and get the cognitive functions back. The first couple of weeks into my relapse, I was okay, but then as it kept progressing and progressing and I got worse and worse, it was just too much for me to handle. Even when I was taking the steroids, I was experiencing the MS hug, which is like the tightest band around your waist, and you feel like you can't breathe. It's so bad. I couldn't wash my hair. My mum had to wash my hair every day. I had people cutting up my food because I couldn't cut up my own food. I couldn't do anything for myself. I was like a child. It was so bad, and every day nothing improved. My hands, I kept waking up and these hands just were the same every day, and I really must admit that I felt like I was sinking into a depression. But with the help of my mum and my dad and my friends constantly being there for me and knowing that I had something to go back to and look forward to is really what spurred me on. If you feel like this and you feel like I did, and you get those days where you feel like you just can't go on, just remember that there is hope. Just remember that it's time. Just remember that things will improve, and just remember that you will always have somebody to pull you through and be there, whether it's in the support of your friends, your family, people to speak to, places like this where you can come and talk, social media, groups for the MS Society. Please do not feel like you're on your own, because it's the worst situation, feeling like you can't speak to people when you can, and there is help out there for you. Please take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon.